Hello, I'm Brad Scott, and this is my art. And this is part 2 of me inking the Minotaurs. The first video turned out to be about 45 minutes, so I want to break it up a little bit just in case rendering was a problem or time. So I talked about the last time about how I don't like to ink right after I finish a drawing. I like to let it sit, so when I get to inking, it's kind of me looking at it again. And this is the second one I plan to ink. It's a Minotaur with a crossbow. And this is also one of the prime examples of why I wait. I like everything about this picture except that part right there. Looking at this now, I think the crossbow angle is wrong because the second piece of the crossbow should be about around here somewhere, which means that this piece over here would not be there. It has to kind of like bend out quicker than that, not come off the page. So I'm going to do a real quick correction on this. Because I think it's wrong. And I think it would be more like that. And then this wouldn't be over there. And this may actually even be a sharper turn around the corner. So I'll make that quick correction real quick. I go back to my brush pen. Make sure it's still good to go because I know the ink is getting low on that one. And again, I'm going to try to work this way so that I don't go over my own work and smear stuff. But also I have to be careful of what pieces are on top and what pieces are on the bottom. Sometimes I get quiet just because I'm trying to make sure I understand which lines are which. And I don't want to mess up again. I know I can correct it, but if I don't have to, then I don't want to. There's no sense in making a mistake if you know you can avoid the mistake. Kind of like life, right? If you know it's a mistake, you probably don't want to do it from the beginning. Okay. And that still may need some altering, but I think that captures the main part of what I wanted to do for that section right there. Now this one, I'm probably going to do a little bit looser. I know I'm definitely going to play with it a little bit more on the digital platform. So I still want to do my best to avoid mistakes, but at the same time I know that this might not be the final. Is that a thing? There's the final, and then there's the final. I'm sure we've all had that experience before. The pre-final. I hope this is the final, but I'm totally prepared if it's not. And actually, I think that's starting to look just the way I wanted to. I showed this around to a few people, and they were like, yeah, they like the idea of a Minotaur with a crossbow, because it's not something you see a lot of. And I was like, yeah, you know, it's still part human, so I'm sure they would take advantage of a ranged weapon instead of always having to run in and gore somebody. Now, I think the Minotaur would prefer close quarters combat. I can absolutely see that as a thing. The other thing I really haven't decided is where the light is coming from. I think this would be really cool if it was backlit, but at the same time, I think it would be cool front lit as well. So I'm gonna go do kind of a neutral inking without dramatically determining which way the sun, or not the sun, but the light is coming from. And then digitally, I'm going to play with different lighting scenarios, because I can see it. And maybe I do two different ones. Maybe I do ink it differently and then put it out to the community and see what they like. You know, some people may be like, ooh, wow, I like that backlit, and other people may be like, no, that's not the one for me. And maybe it winds up neither one of them are cool. Who knows? I'm perfectly willing and understand that whatever I do may not be the final, and it also may not be well received by the people I'm doing it for. You know, it's completely understandable that I could do something, I could spend hours working on something, and then when I put it out to the world come back and go, we don't like it at all. No parts of it. Again, art is subjective. So if that's the case, then that's the case. There was a time when it would hurt my feelings, but not anymore. Now I understand that there's people, they like what they like, and not to take it personally, it's just different tastes, different strokes for different folks. I typically don't ink something until I know I like it, at least. But then sometimes I finish and I go, ooh, I don't like that myself. And there's times when I don't like it and other people love it. And I learned that lesson back in high school. I remember an art class in high school, which was over 30 years ago, because I'm not a young pup anymore. But I did this painting of a ship in the middle of the ocean with a storm, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But we were having an art show, and I didn't have time to do anything else. And so my instructor was like, are you going to put in the show? And I was like, I don't have any other replacement. And I'd had several pieces that I was very proud of, and some that I'd even said up front, I'm not selling. One of them was a painting of Walter Payton, Sweetness, back in that day. That kind of shows you the age that I'm talking about. But I had this painting of a ship in a storm, which I did not like, not even a little bit. I like the concept of it. I like the composition of it. but the painting itself, I think I flubbed it up. And I said, well, I don't really have a lot else to put in the show right now. Go ahead and leave it in the show. And it was one of the first pieces sold. There was a young lady who came by and she said she loved it. She loved the colors. She loved the composition. And I was like, really? And she's like, yes. And she bought it and hung it up in her bedroom. And I was floored. I was just like, wow. I thought that was one of my worst pieces, not just for the show, but ever. And that's when I learned that it's subjective. Art talks to people differently. And every piece speaks to other people differently. There's been art pieces that, people are like, well, you're supposed to love this one. This is so-and-so. And I go, yeah, but I don't like it. It's not my taste. And they their response is like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Something's wrong with you. And I'm like, well, I don't necessarily have to like everything that everybody else likes. Is that the case? And now I fully understand exactly how that is. As you can see, this one's going a lot faster. There's not as much detail in this one. It's pretty simple for the most part. I do like it though. And I can see where I'm going to be adding a lot of details in it to really make it pop. But I think it's going to be a really nice piece when I finish with it, which is kind of exciting. It's always exciting when you're happy with a piece, right? When you are like, oh, yeah, I did this one. When you're happy with your own work, I think it shows in just the confidence of the strokes and what you're putting out. And this one, I love the simplicity of it for the most part. That's what it is. It's a Minotaur with a crossbow. It doesn't get much simpler than that. And I got a little hairdo on him. Now the hairdo I'm not super in love with, but at the same time I know what I'm going for. But I think without the color, it's not talking to me the way I want it to. And then when I add the color, it will. And I almost painted myself, or inked myself, I should say, in a corner here. Because this arch, I want to do this way because that's the natural flow. Whenever you're doing arcs, you probably want to go with the natural flow of your elbow and shoulder. So I could do it this way, but that's really not natural. Or if I come this way, that's the natural arc of my arm. So hopefully I don't smear. And I didn't. All right. Make sure. No smear. The other thing I like about bulls are the black eyes. Just that deep, dark black eye. Where it's like they're looking through you almost. I love that. Now this shoulder is going to have some heavies in it because it's the closest thing to us. And I'm going to keep the strokes nice, smooth, and bold. And then I think I'm finished with this piece. And that's how quickly the initial ink could go. And I'll give that a second to, I shouldn't say a second. I'll give that some time to dry, and then I'll come back and erase the pencils, and then I'll go in and add details, rendering, and texture. And I think we got time for one more. This one I love. I've been wanting to do this one ever since I did it. And we are at about, wow, that last one only took about 15 minutes. So I think we got time to knock this one out. And I haven't decided how to take care of. Initially, I was going to do a lot of deep, dark blacks on this one and really just emphasize the light areas. Like I was going to black all this out, and then even black in here, black down here, and then light, light, light up here. And I'm going to go for it. I think that's what I'm going to, I think I still want to do that. I think that's still how I want to proceed with this one. Big chance, but no guts, no glory. No guts, no glory. All right, so I'm going to do the initial, I'm going to actually break this one up a little bit, I think. No, you know what? It's just paper. I'm going for it. I'm already feeling good. I'm loose. And if it turns out sucky, it turns out sucky. But there's a possibility that it turns out epic. Right? Don't know until it's done. So no sense in being chicken about it. Just paper, just ink, just art. I've already scanned it in, so in reality, if I wanted to, I can redo it digitally. And that's fine too. Now this one I haven't worked out a lot of the details. I really just was playing with light and shadow on this one. And I was thinking, because there's sometimes I just want to do something with a lot of deep blacks and just really make the lighting pop. But it's scary. It's scary blacking out almost an entire drawing. Especially when you have no idea what it's going to look like. And it's much easier to add a deep black than it is to get rid of one. And small mistakes can be corrected easily with the white pen. You throw down half a page of jet black ink, you're not correcting that. You're going to live with it, which means you might have to draw it over. But sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that is part of the fun. Now, there have been times, especially when I'm working a commission, where I'm like, I can't mess this up. I don't have the time to redo it. And sure enough, what do? I mess it up. But a lot of times that happens because I'm apprehensive about what I'm doing. And I'm worried that I'm messing it up. Whereas now, I'm not worried if I'm messing it up. I know I'm not messing it up. I'm making it better. The Fly. I don't know if a lot of people remember that movie. Jeff Goldblum. Everybody remembers him from Jurassic Park. But what about The Fly? That was an unbelievable movie back in the day. I wonder if it's on Netflix or something. As I date myself again, which I often do. Like, how old are you? Well, I'm old enough to remember The Fly. I'm actually old enough to remember the original Blob movie. Ooh. And how scary something so simple was. I bet if I showed that to my kids now, they would be like, how is that scary? And the graphics on this suck, Dad. What is wrong with you? Doesn't even look believable. What's it supposed to be? Oh my God. Because I've tried a couple of things with them before. And they look at me like, was that supposed to be good? And I'm like, oh my God, that was fantastic. And they go, okay, can I go now? And I'm like, yeah, fine, go. And they're like, oh my God. Throwing those deep, dark black eyes, which I really shouldn't have done, to be honest. Because I was actually going to make them kind of glowing. So I'll have to do that in what we call post-production. But, again, I'm trying to go with deep blacks. So maybe it's good that I did that. I'm really thinking about how this is going to come out in the end. But I got to be honest, so far I'm thinking it's okay. So far, so good. Like the man that jumped off the top of a building, a skyscraper in Chicago. On the way down, everybody heard him say, "So far, so good." That's an old joke from an old man. I'm definitely painting myself into some predicaments here because I haven't done this part yet, and I definitely have to wait for that stuff to dry before I try to get up in there. Unless I flip it upside down, which would be fine too. And the ears. So much of this is going to be blacked out. It is definitely going to be interesting. I don't do very many blacked out, low lighting paintings or drawings. But it's always fun to try new and different things. Because I see them by other artists and I love them. I'm like, oh, that is so sharp. I've got to try that. And then I don't try it because I'm chicken. And then I feel bad for being chicken. So today, guess what? I'm not going to be chicken. I'm not going to be chicken little today. Today I'm going for it. And I do kind of like the way the ink is coming out on this. But I think part of that has to just do with the brush pen. The brush pen creates a very nice line work that is interesting. And the way you control it, the pressure, the speed of which you do the work is very intuitive into the brush pen itself. And so I do enjoy that piece of it. Yes, men have nipples too, and so do bulls, so do Minotaurs. The funny thing is this is almost done because of the style that I'm doing it in. When I switch over to my large blunt instrument, it's going to go by pretty fast. But it is looking pretty cool so far. I don't know if you can hear that tapping in the background. It's my daughter practicing. She is a thespian. Very good one, I might add. And I think she's in there practicing some dance moves. I think for these hoofs too, I'm going to add a touch of fur or hair around them. Some tufts at the bottom. Some nice long strokes in there. If this works out, this is gonna be beautiful, because I can see the way that it's coming together now, that I am enjoying it. Did I just smear that? Oh my God. It's okay. I can make it bigger and just black it out. I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to flip over and do the top of the throne. What time are we at? We're at about 30 minutes. So I think we'll be doing okay. Okay, that's good, that's good. Go down some stairs. I really should use a straight edge and one of my technical pens for this, but I'm not. And that's the majority of the drawing done right there. And now, to bring, oh, almost ready. Got a little bit more here. And it's time to bring out the big guns. So I want to make sure that I have enough of the large black ink. So I'm going to pull out a few extra black markers. And we're going to go for it. I'm going to test it out first because I haven't used this one in a while. And to be honest, oh, see, look at that. That looks like it needs a refill. I'm not loving that one. I'm not using that one. Let me see what my other one's like. Looks good. Hopefully it lasts. I don't want to get into it and then run out of ink. That really sucks, to be honest. So I'm going to start at the top and work my way down with the deep black. And then that way, if it starts to dim, it'll be okay, because I think I'm doing I haven't decided on lighting yet, so. This is dangerous territory. But if I do it in sections, I should be good. So if something, if I have to stop and refill, that's fine. That's one of the reasons why I love the Copics, because I can stop and refill. And I have one of the larger wide black markers, but the coverage on it is, I'd rather use it toward the bottom than up at the top, because the top is going to be my focal point. So I want to make sure that I'm getting that as deep as I can. And so far, I'm okay with what's going on. I'm okay with what's going down. Now, could just really easy have done this digitally. But at the same time, when I scan it, I can manipulate it however I want to digitally anyway, so that's not a big deal. And I can tell this markers already need to be refilled. This is gonna suck. So I'll switch. I don't remember using them that much from the last time I refilled them, to be honest. But when I do dark pictures like this, I know that I should refill them automatically toward the end. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. Let me see if my wide, is it good to go? This one might be good. Let's see what I can do here. Sorry if I'm a little bit quiet on this part here. I'm just truly trying to make sure I don't stray too far off the path and have a huge black mark that I got to deal with at that point. Oh, that's going to be nice. I am satisfied. I am happy with the way it's coming out. Again, those Copics provide a really nice, deep black. I've tried a bunch of other markers and a lot of the alcohol based, and most of them are pretty good, but blending, there are a couple of different markers that blend pretty well. The alcohol-based markers, I've tried a few that are pretty cool. But then they have these weak blacks, and you put them down and they look almost gray. And it's like, ugh. And then I have to wind up going back over them anyway. So when it comes to the deep blacks, I just prefer to go ahead and use my Copics. So that saved me a lot of time. And luckily that one was filled up pretty good. And then I can get these edges with my point here. I'm definitely going to have to play with the lighting on this one now that I've committed to this deep black on the original. And I can do anything I want digitally, and I'll probably scan it in before I do the lighting just in case I mess it up, and then I'll just have the deep blacks that I can work from without stressing myself out too much. Little trick there, put your card there and just easily get that nice line on the end. Again, don't worry about going over. Get it nice and clean edge. Booyah. I am so glad that I refilled this one. I can tell that it's been filled. That's looking pretty cool. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to black out the center portion that's kind of sitting back in the chair. Yeah. And I might actually have to do with that with the brush pen, to be honest, to get the edge that I want, because that edge is pretty raggedy. But I've committed to it, so that's fine. When I did the sketch, this is exactly what I had in mind. So I'm glad that I'm following through with it and seeing how it comes out. I might be pleasantly surprised when it's all said and done, because if you don't take a risk, you never really know. And again, with art, especially pen and ink, why not take the chance? I mean, the worst thing that can happen is it's ugly and okay. Paper, and ink and time, but the time isn't wasted if you learn something. This pen, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. And I think I have to black this out as well. So I'm going to go back to the heavy marker because I know it has ink. Oh yes, deep shadow. And I think I need more shadow up under the legs. I'm going for it all the way. Part of me is like, what the heck? This is crazy. Crazy. Just think of how much little erasing I have to do on this one. And this Copic dries pretty fast as well. So I'm actually going to bring this up and over with the hard line like that. I like it. I like it. I think that's going to turn out pretty good. I'll let that dry. I'll erase the pencil marks, and I'll come back and add in some details. I might even add in some more blacks. I got to figure out where I'm going to go with it now. So I hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2 of me inking up the Minotaurs. I'm going to show you real quick the first one. It dried up, and so I was able to erase the lines, the construction lines, and I think that came out beautifully. I think that came out great. I can go back in now with probably my Micron or my Copic Multiliner, and I'll add in either this one or this one, and the Copic Multiliner or the Micron, and I'll add in more details, maybe some veins or whatever, but the line weight on that one, with the varying line weights and the line quality and the composition, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I hope you enjoyed it too. I used most of the tools that I showed you. Please comment and let me know what you like or didn't like. It's the only way I can grow as an artist. And if you like the channel, I'm okay with the thumbs up. If you didn't like it, I'm okay with the thumbs down too. Let me know either way what you thought about it. And I hope that you enjoyed this time with me. And hopefully you'll be just as bold in your inking endeavors that you have coming up. And keep practicing, keep getting better. I'm Brad Scott. This is my art, and I'll talk to you later.